Welcome to Pamigurumi. I'm Pam. Welcome back to my channel. If this is your first time, thank you for joining me, and you'll hear my little partner in crime. That is Josie, my Australian Shepherd, who loves to steal all things crochet. Okay, today I wanted to talk about crochet tools, and I'm putting this into three categories. Basic sewing kit items that you may already have around the house, specific crochet items that I consider essential and I use every time I crochet, and then non-crochet items that I use frequently for crochet. And yeah, what do I do with all those things? We'll talk about that. Okay, so let's start with basic sewing kits. So most things when you're doing crochet assume that you have a basic sewing kit. So when they say all things included, they usually assume you have some scissors at home. Now I specifically for crochet like these little precision scissors where they're very sharp and I can reach down and cut a little tiny fuzzy on a tail or that's sticking out of the yarn. So I like these little precision scissors. These ones are by Singer, and I have several of those laying around. The next thing would be pins. So these are basic sewing pins with a large head, frequently used in quilting specifically, but can be used for anything. But you need the big head so it won't disappear into your crochet when you're using them. So part of my sewing kit is pins. And then they also assume that you have some needles, and specifically for crochet you need various sizes of tapestry needle, which tapestry needles specifically are dull on the end so you don't accidentally pierce your yarn when you're sewing. You typically want to go in holes, and depending on the type of yarn you're using, you need smaller to larger head sizes. So needles, and frequently in a kit it will come with a tapestry needle in case you don't have that, and I have various sizes laying around. The other thing that is in your sewing kit that you can use for crochet is just a measuring tape. Frequently you want to measure something, make sure it's coming out to the right size, so that is handy to have around, as well as a ruler. I didn't put my ruler out here, maybe it's in one of my other containers. I'll show you. So that is basic sewing kit stuff: pins, needles, scissors, measuring items. So specific for crochet, you do need crochet hooks. These are my favorite, Furls Odyssey, which they don't make anymore, but they do make a new version, which is their Streamline. It is a weighted hook, which helps me with inflammatory arthritis to not have to grip my hook so hard. So I use the knife hold and it fits just nicely in my hand, and I can crochet easily without having to use a lot of grip, which helps me a lot. So I have a full set of letter B to letter J in the old US terminology. So that's 2.25 to 6.0, but not every, because it's the letter system. I don't have every different centimeter mark, but I love my set. And I just have this basic little holder because these are weighted. They tend to roll, and they love to roll right off of wherever you're working. And these are now extremely expensive hooks. I think at the time I bought them, they were 25 bucks a piece, which I think is what the Streamline are now. And I bought them over time to get the sizes that I wanted. And you can see when Josie was a puppy, she did use my very expensive hooks, which if you want to replace this on eBay, it's about $100 now. So we just remember that as one of her lovely little puppy traits. She got several of them. Let's see. So other things essential to crochet, obviously you're going to need some sort of yarn. and markers. Now for amigurumi, I like these little metal guys because they don't leave a big hole. They're small, and so I have adapted to using these. Prior to that, I used these plastic of the same kind of a safety pin kind of look. You have to be careful. I'll show you a huge bag I ordered from Amazon, but they break. So quality is kind of important if you don't want them to break while you're working with them, which I find very frustrating. So these are from Woobles, and leave your mark. There's a little set of pins. Where's my pins? It says put a pin in it, and then 10mm eyes are what they use. So you caught my eye. They're very punny. I like Woobles marketing a lot. So again, you need a hook, you need yarn, you need markers. I do always use a stitch counter when I'm going, most of the time. I'd say 99% of the time, so that I can keep track of my rounds and rows, because I get distracted a lot by my sweet puppy dog and whatever else is going on in my house. And then the other thing that's essential is to have a pattern. I'm working out of this cute little bird book right now, Colorful Crochet Birds by Ilaria Caleri, I think is how you say that. I'll let you say that. So those are things that I consider essential for me to be able to crochet, is having my sewing kit and the essential crochet items. Now, I also find that I use a lot of things that are not crochet specific that I like to have at hand and have on my tray. So that is one thing, is I use a wooden tray like this. This is not how I normally have it set up. We'll see if I can do that at the end of the video. But I like to be able to pick up my project and move it. So I found if I keep everything that's essential on my tray, if I move from one room to another to be with my husband, I just pick up my tray and go. Which used to work great before Josie and her yarn stealing habits. So I did have to adapt a little bit, because she will grab my ball of yarn, and if you notice on my logo, it is a little purple Australian Shepherd with a pink ball of yarn in her mouth, because this is a frequent happening. So let's see what's on my tray. So I always keep tweezers on my tray and use them frequently. They are great for stuff. Oh, for amigurumi specifically, I would add stuffing. And then some other I have my safety eyes, which I'll show you too, which you can always embroider, but I do consider that essential to amigurumi specifically. So I have my little pointy, let's see if I can get them to focus, very pointy. And some people use larger ones. This was in a kit I already had, and so I just adapted them to be my crochet tweezers. So they're great for stuffing small pieces. And so I use them for stuffing, and also for poking in yarn ends when I'm pulling them through. Sometimes it's helpful to just poke it in a little bit with these little tweezers. So I use them all the time. So while we're on stuffing, I do have chopsticks on here. So these are nice plastic ones. And so that is another item that is great for stuffing. So to push down your stuffing to the very bottom as you start stuffing your amigurumi. I also have a hole punch on here. Get it in frame, just a simple hole punch. And what I use that for is, let's see, do I have an example here? I don't think I have the top in here. So I will punch a hole in my yarn label. I always roll my balls into little cakes so they sit flat. I like to pull easily from the center and not be unrolling my yarn as I go. So if I can get a center pull, then I'll go with that. But usually, even these tiny ones, I'll roll into a small little cake. So it's more pleasurable when I'm crocheting not to have to wrestle with the yarn. So I cut a little hole in my label, and I'll show you one as we go along. I'm sure I have one in one of my other boxes. and then put a piece of the yarn. So if it's something I keep on in stock, which I usually keep yarn art jeans in stock because I like it. It's my favorite for amigurumi. This one I'm trialing is 100% cotton Rico Rumi, and I'll talk about that in another video. But that way I know, like on yarn art jeans, for example, they use numbers. So I like to attach the yarn. So if I'm reordering, I know exactly what I am needing to reorder, and I roll that up and stick it inside my little cake that I make. So when I'll know what number or color it is. So let's see, what else? So my hole punch. So I keep a manicure kit close by at all times because there's nothing more frustrating than having a rough nail or a snag nail while you're crocheting. So I keep my whatever this is, my manicure set very close. Okay, these little tabs. These ones specifically say sign here, but it's the little arrow I want. And I use that in my pattern books when I'm working from a book versus working from my tablet or my phone, so that I can mark where I'm at in my pattern. So that works quite well because I'm looking back and forth. I lose my place a lot. So I keep some of these little tabs close by. And I have a variety of lighters in here. I do like to use a small lighter for melting the back of my safety eyes so that they're more secure and don't stick out, which is difficult in a small piece when you're trying to stuff. I do have a larger one here, but I've not been as successful in trying to burn the fuzzies off of acrylic yarn. I end up burning the piece, so we'll see if I try that again. I do have it here on my tray, and it does work, but you have to learn when to stop, and that's only when I'm using super fuzzy, more inexpensive acrylic yarn that I have a problem with fuzzies. All right, I also have just some needle nose pliers, so those are very helpful. Sometimes you have wire and you are bending wire. Sometimes it's hard to pull the needle through a small space, so I will use those to pull the needle through. So I also keep some so this is actually a corsage pin, so not a sewing pin, but inexpensive on Amazon. Does have a big head and it's a little bit longer. So sometimes with amigurumi pieces, I'm wanting to hold them together while I sew, and I just need a little bit longer than the regular sewing needle, or sewing pin. I will show you the difference. So there's a regular sewing pin, and there is, I think these are about 3 inches, 2.5, 3 inches. I also have a variety of, these are actually upholstery needles, and I got a pack that have bigger eyes and range in size. There are also doll making needles, so just a little bit different than you would have in your sewing kit. These are great for holding your piece together. On small amigurumi, you can go all the way through and hold a leg on each side of a body, again, to stabilize for sewing. So I like a variety of those. I have a big pack. I also have a pet brush on here. Now, this one I did not borrow from Josie. This one I bought specifically for amigurumi on Amazon. I will link this because it is a perfect size, because when you go to brushing, it's easy to brush more than you want to when you're working on a small piece. So I love this little edge, and this is for making yarn look more like fur on a piece. So some specific amigurumi call for that. And so I have a specific one I keep on my tray. And because I am a woman of a certain age, I also have a remote fan that I am able to turn on at will to try to keep myself cool. I also have a smaller fan that points right on my face for those moments where I'm dying. I use a bright light, and it does get hot and tends to make me warm while I'm crocheting. So I keep that remote handy so I can turn it on and get the fan to oscillate on me. Now, another non-crochet item that is essential for me in my occupational therapist actually recommended this and helped me pick it out on Amazon. This is a soft lap desk. So I know a lot of people use the breastfeeding style donut pillows. That did not work for me. I could not get comfortable. This one, I have a lot of space so that basically I use this as my desk. I sit in my recliner, recline back. I have an autoimmune inflammatory arthritis in my spine, and it affects most of my joints, including my hands, elbows, shoulders, and of course my spine is my whole neck and back down to my butt bone. So I have to be very, very comfortable in order to be able to crochet comfortably. So this fits in my recliner, and we did measure before I ordered it. It has this little part that flips down. I don't really know its full intention, but I use it like a bib. So when I'm sitting in my chair, I have this up on my chest so that when little things want to roll away, they roll generally into this center part. And this is well loved. You can see it's a little stained. Sorry, excuse that. Of course, I do, I don't know, Josie made me spill something right there, I think. But anyway, got my coffee and my soda, whatever, while I'm crocheting. So the other thing I like about this is you can stick pins into it. So this is a lanyard that I don't like to wear as a lanyard, but it's got some of my little crochet pins in there. Crochet is my cardio, rip it real good, and happy hooker. All my little enamel pins I've got there. Also have my stitch counter on here. So this is the one that I use when I'm crocheting. Some yarn snips. These are very sharp. I tend not to like yarn snips. As I mentioned, I love these little precision scissors with the tiny little point. I don't like to hack at my yarn when I cut. I want it to be one smooth piece. So I will have my husband sharpen my scissors if I can't get a good cut. So I have that pinned on. I can dry block using pins on top of this when I'm working. So this is essential. So the thing that my therapist recommended is you need to be able to sit up straight and have your elbows relaxed beside you. So I have my elbows on these armrests and holding everything in front of me. And this height helps my neck, so I'm not building my, bending my neck too much, because that will make me have to stop crocheting. So lap desk, that is an essential non-crochet item that is essential for me. I have a little notebook and pen here because I do keep that by my side for making notes. I have a WIP list, I have a want to do project list, all those kind of things. Now, one of the adaptations I've had to make because of Josie, I use this little shoebox, and this can fit 3 regular size skeins. So I'll pick my 3 colors I'm using on, or obviously multiple of these little guys. And I put holes in the top for the yarn to come out, which I use sometimes, and sometimes I just stick it in there. And I keep that on my tray, therefore Josie cannot steal my yarn, which she loves to do. And occasionally I'll have one out and she will get it anyway, because that is what Josie does. So I have all of these things within reach, either on my tray or within reach next to me. I have a table to the right and a table to the left, and then I have room under my table for some suitcase boxes, which I will show you next. Forgot one little item on my tray, and it is this little cute bucket that I got as a party favor somewhere along the way. And this is my yarn scrap bucket. So I keep this on my tray right next to me so I can put my little ends in it. And I love to use these little ends for stuffing small pieces in my amigurumi. For example, in this little beak, this is a peacock I have started. In this little beak, I like to use my tweezers and fill it with yarn instead of wrestling with the little fluffy polyester pieces in a tiny piece. Okay, I set my tray up as I usually use it. So I have things shoved to the side over here, easy in reach. I have my hooks I have my scissors, my tweezers, my variety of needles, my scrap bucket. I've got extra pins and markers and everything here. There's my hole puncher and my pliers, extra scissors. I don't know why. I go through a lot of scissors because they come up missing frequently while I'm crocheting. And there's my little brush. I usually do keep that on my tray. And then this is on my left table. On my right table, I keep this little magnetic holder I found at Hobby Lobby with a cute little hedgehog. And so I keep my frequently used needles, stitch markers, and a few pins on that. And then I have my nail kit next to that on my right. And then I shove extra things. I have 2 of these suitcase boxes stacked under me. So this one I keep on the bottom, whoops, that was loud, with extra stuff that I use frequently but don't need it on my tray. I've got various safety eyes in there, extra scissors. I had a blowout on my sewing tape, which I guess I'll toss that. Can still use it. Okay, so here is the big bag of safety pins that I got off of Amazon, and they were terrible. They break all the time, so just be cautious. Buy a small amount and see how the quality is before you invest in a huge bag. There's some bendable wire that I use in some Amis when it calls for it. I bought these stuffing pellets. I haven't used them yet, but it's to weight your Ami down so that it sits more appropriately. And I kind of forgot that I had them stuffed in here. I need to try to use them. Maybe I'll try them on my peacock I'm working on. There's extra stitch counters. I got extra ones. The buttons do wear out. It takes years, however. There is a little ruler. I was talking about just part of your sewing kits. Nice to have a little ruler. I do have a set of non-furls hooks that I have in here. I usually don't reach for them very much. Actually, I loan these out when I'm trying to teach somebody to crochet, so I keep them around. This is some jewelry fitting. I want to try to make some earrings using thread for crochet. And so I have the fittings. I have a package of miscellaneous buttons for using on my Ami as needed. Whoops, there go the weighted pellets. I have wire cutting pliers for cutting that wire I showed you. I have an eye setter. Honestly, I rarely use it. I don't have typically too much trouble putting an eye together. But if I do have trouble, I do have a tool. I have a little Kodak step printer so that I can print out pictures of my work to put in a journal. Let's see if I have them. Yeah, stuff back in there. There is my No Drama Llama, which was my very first amigurumi. And so it's a perfect size, like what is that, 1.5 by 3, something like that, to put in my journal that I need to be working on that I'm not working on. And then I have just lined sticky paper. This is what I make my lists on, like my WIP list and my next project list. It's stuff like that. I have crochet stickers. I should put them on my box. I don't know. I'm funny with stickers. I love stickers. I have since I was a kid, but I hate using them because then they're used up. So I have a big pack, so I need to let go and use my crochet stickers. There's some more of these are upholstery needles, a pack I found on Amazon. More eyes, different colored eyes instead of just black. I do have some super glue in here. I actually hate using glue on a project. Had to use some recently because Josie ripped an eye out of a flamingo that she stole from me. And so once it was pulled out, I had to glue it in because it was a finished project. So I do have that in my box. This is tassel making cardboard. that I cut to make tassels on my No Drama Llama. I don't know where, yeah. The tassels on the front of that guy. I used that little board to wind the yarn to make it. I went through a phase where I was trying thimbles. I use my left finger to push the crochet hook against when I'm going through my work. I have done that since I first started. I am a tight crocheter, so I like to keep very tight control of the yarn, and that finger can get sore, and I have tried using a thimble, but I don't like any. So that was my attempt at thimbles. I have a gauge ruler that I have thrown in here that I don't use very often because I don't gauge very often. In Ami, I don't really need it. I have made some wearables. There's a couple wearables on my want to do list, so we'll see. There's another ruler. Oh, there's a big old upholstery needle. So for a bigger piece, this would be, I've used this for going all the way through the legs and the body to hold them together while I sew them on. Oh, this is acrylic paint. I went through a phase where I was trying to use paint instead of blush to get a better look, and well, again, it's kind of messy. So now I have a whole package of acrylic paint. It wasn't very expensive. It was on Amazon, but I don't really use it. There's some extra hooks that came out of that kit. These are Clover stitch markers, and they did have a smaller size plastic, so I actually tried these before I went to my little metal light bulb shape ones, but they kept coming undone. So they're the right size. They come in small, medium, and large in this packet from Clover, but I didn't like them because they come undone. So nothing worse than working in the round and have your stitch marker come out, because it is brain racking to try to figure out where you're at. So there's some product fails. And so that is what's in one tub. So I kind of put things in here that I don't use often, but I want to keep it handy in case I want it while I'm crocheting. The other suitcase box I keep right by my left side under my table is one when I'm working on multiple projects to protect my yarn. I throw it in this box so I can pull it back out and put it in my smaller box. This is leftover yarn from my hooks and needles subscription box that I did not continue to subscribe to, that I used to make a whale that I'll show you in a follow-up video. But that's merino wool. I think it's like $13 for a 50-ounce skein. So more expensive than I usually spend on Ami for sure. And then the whale had a little pink hat, and I had to make the little pink hat again because Josie got my little pink hat off, and so you can see a little Josie chew mark. So I did remake the whale's hat. So just various yarns that I'm working on, some scraps. Here's my thread that I want to use to make some earrings. There's more of the earring fitting. More pins thrown in here. I have smaller hooks for trying to do the thread. I'm not sure if my hands will do that. We're gonna give it a try. So I keep this one closer for when I'm working on multiple projects, so I can just stick my yarn in there to save it from the dog. Josie and I hope you found this interesting. And I'm going to take my tray back and continue my crochet for the day. And remember, every day is a great day to crochet. Bye.